Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't met me before, hi, my name is Rebecca. It's nice to meet you. I'm a 30-year-old disabled woman here in Australia, in Western Australia specifically, and I'm also raising my daughter who is also disabled. On this channel you're going to find videos like budgeting and finances. I'm a Centrelink at this point in time, so that's where my, focus is at. I also do videos on my disability journey, also talking through my motherhood journey, the ups and downs and the ins and outs of all of that. If you like what you see and want to stick around, feel free to hit subscribe. My goal this year is to reach 1,000 subs to get monetized, so fingers crossed I can actually reach that. Either way, I'm thankful that you're here and watching this video today. With that said, let's get into it. Today I'm going to be discussing something a little bit niche, and I say niche, this is more so in the legally blind community. Maybe some blind folks will sort of understand what I'm describing, but this is kind of my experience with what I see and what I experience as a visually impaired woman. So just a brief backstory, I have been legally blind since birth pretty much. I was born extremely premature. I was born at 22 weeks and 2 days gestation. I do have a more in-depth video up here and down below if you're interested. From that I developed ROP, which stands for retinopathy of prematurity. It's a very, very common, well, yeah, I was very rare, but I believe it's under a certain gestation and birth weight that you are more of an increased risk with getting ROP, and I definitely was well under that. I was at high risk, and obviously I got it. I believe I had stage 3 or 4, or 1 in each arm, not sure, but it was around stage 3 to 4. So back then I had a laser to try and correct as much as they could, and then I think I was 9 or 10 weeks old when I had 2 hemorrhages in both of my eyes, where I had to get more laser surgery then. Since I was 10 months old, I've been wearing high prescription glasses since up until 2020, was when I started having some issues with my right eye, but other than that it's somewhat been stable. But I still wanted to talk through kind of what I see, because I think there's such a big misconception. When you are visually impaired, people go, oh, so you can't see, like you just see black, and that's to me as well. I get told that as well, asked or presumed that I just can't see anything. It's like, no, that's not how it works, and that's not everybody's experience. Like, everybody who has ROP can have a completely different visual experience than what I do. I think that's really, really important, and that's just in general for the visually impaired and blind community, is that we may have the same diseases or similar diseases, but our bodies and our eyes, they're all very, very complex, and it's just a complex situation to experience, and it can be a little tricky to explain and for people to understand, and I can understand that from that perspective, but it's just such a big misconception, so I want to break some of that today. So my left eye's always been better, example being my prescription. My right eye is minus 14.7 and my left is minus 10, I believe. So that goes to show like how much of a difference my eyes are. It's always been that way. My left has always been the better one. That's not always the case with ROP, but it is the case for me. When it comes to ROP as well, yes, my ROP was healed, essentially, in quotes, but the repercussions of having lasers so young and having ROP it's basically what has contributed to the sight that I have today and the conditions that I have from having ROP. I did go more in depth on what conditions I do have with my eyes under ROP in my Legally Blind video, so I will link that down below if you're interested to know a bit more in depth. But let's get back into what I experience visually. So sometimes, and not all the time, but definitely growing up, if it's too sunny, like too bright, like today for instance, it was so sunny, like I needed my sunglasses. I mean, you should wear your sunglasses when you're out and about anyway. Things that are too bright, even this light is kind of affecting my eyes weirdly. It's almost like the light is too much in focus, and it's my eyes struggle to, not all the time, but my eyes struggle to sometimes focus on the outer stuff, and it takes a while for it to come into view when I'm out of the light. So my eyes will take a bit longer basically to, for example, if I've been out for a long time and outside and I come inside and it's a bit darker, it takes my eyes longer to readjust to my surroundings for me to be able to see, basically. I also really, really struggle with night vision. I'm not night blind, but I do struggle with, dark areas, and I kind of, the astigmatism and nystagmus kind of play a big role in that. But yeah, I'm definitely very sensitive to light, like in big shopping malls and things like that. Like I have to wear sunnies or even a hat sometimes, because it's just too bright, too much, and it also messes with my head a little bit, especially now with my Meniere's disease. That can affect my eyesight as well, weirdly. Basically making sure that I can see comfortably and it's not too much of a strain on my eyes. This is more of a recent thing, but I actually experienced my first ever visual migraine. For those that don't know, a lot of the time people with Meniere's disease also end up having visual migraines at the same time, like they're very interchangeable. And I experienced that for the first time the other week, actually. It was kind of scary because I didn't know what was happening, and there's a little bit of trauma there because in 2020 I experienced a double or triple, I think, vitreous hemorrhage. Basically just means the blood vessels popped or whatever inside my eyes, and I had 3 lots of those at once, and in my right eye, and it was so incredibly scary because all I saw was black. It's literally, it was literally the misconception stereotype of all you see is black. That's literally what I saw, and it was horrifying. There was no pain there, but it was just absolutely horrifying. Thankfully it was fine and they healed on their own. There was no tears or anything that occurred, but it was still a very triggering experience. So now when I see floaters, the way I can describe it, it was more like squiggly, colourful lines, and I've never experienced that before, and I was like, what the fuck? And this was at 2 a.m. This is at 2 a.m. as well, but it only lasted 10 minutes, and then afterwards I got the really rough headache. So, but aside from those 2 incidences, I don't think from memory I've experienced any really bad moments with my eyes, thankfully, touch wood, that stays that way, but who knows, I don't know the future. So some of the things that I do to try and combat that and try and, you know, protect my eyes as much as I can, I use orange screens. I use like the eye protection setting on phones, laptops, computers. You probably notice it on that screen there. I use it on everything that I can, the orange screen, especially at night, but also just during the day. The only time that I don't is when I'm editing. Every other time I use it. And then something else is, you know, for especially like computers and stuff like that. Growing up, it wasn't really like this because we didn't have we did have computers, but they were bulky, they were in one classroom, and we got like slotted times per day or per class or whatever it was that we were doing. And also back then they just didn't have that as an option, at least from what I was aware, they didn't have that option back then for like our eye protection thing. So with that came the really big magnifying glass that I used to have to use to try and read print. You know, my teachers would print it out. They would either enlarge it and I would use that, or they would just print it off as normal. Usually I would just say like print it off as normal because I really didn't want to be a bother. I really didn't want to burden people with my disability and make it like quote unquote harder, or just I really just didn't want to be a burden on other people, and that has definitely stayed. There are so many moments in my life, even recently, that I've just not done something or not asked for help because I didn't want to be a burden. That's something I'm working on in therapy, but anyway. So yeah, they would either do one of those 2 things, and then come to whiteboards and things like that. Whiteboards was really tricky because I had to sit up the front anyway. But, you know, I could not read certain colours, like greens and reds I really struggled to read, so the colours that the teachers had to use were like black and a very dark blue. It had to be really strong, but dark blue, it couldn't be like fading, because no, I was not able to read that. And they had to write decently big as well for me to be able to read it. Something else that's very recent, like really since my Meniere's disease has kind of cropped up and come about, is, you know, certain patterns or certain like flashing lights or something like that, like strobe lights and stuff, really mess with my eyes. It's not painful, it's just really uncomfortable, and I get like instant headache type of thing, so that I have to be kind of wary of. I've always struggled with the identity or the fact of being legally blind and being disabled. Like, I really didn't believe that I was disabled or that anything was quote unquote wrong with me until I was like in my teens, really until I went for my driver's license when I was 16 and I got pushed back. Like, it was literally, I passed the theory test and I didn't even make it past the desk where they do like the quick check of your eyesight to see if you can pass the legal like limit. I didn't even get past that, and that absolutely devastated me. And I really tried, like I tried to speak to different eye surgeons, and I had so many different testings and stuff, and you know, I wasn't able to get certain surgeries because with my eye shape and the way that my eyes are, and you know, for certain surgeries I wasn't able to really get approved for because of my eyes and the shape and the conditions that I have that would make it really difficult and really like potentially risky. So it's been really hard, and especially with like, again, not being able to drive. I am such an independent person, or at least I pride myself on being such an independent person, and not having a license has truly ripped that away from me. And I went through years of just getting transport, and I had to deal with that. But in the last year, I've definitely developed, because of my Meniere's disease, that's a whole other thing, but because of that, I've definitely developed a sense of like agoraphobia, which has not been fun. Like, I have not caught transport in over a year. That's something I'm going to change this year. It's also made me appreciate the quickness of just having a car, because right now where I live, my partner's dad obviously he has a license, so I'm able to get him to take me places in my car. So there is that benefit from it, and it makes me just not want to get transport. I know it's like cheaper in the long run, and I'm saving the environment and all that, and I can appreciate that, but from a personal perspective, and you know, really, this is gonna sound silly, but over the years it's really pertained to me, to my self-worth as a person. It's a struggle. It's not an easy thing to navigate, and you know, if you are legally blind, vision impaired, and of any sort, even fully blind, you know, my heart goes out to you. I'm in solidarity with you. Yeah, it's not easy, and the judgment and the misconceptions that we still get is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that we live in a world that's not designed for disabled people in general is really just, it's not good enough. It really isn't. But I'm going to leave that video here for today. Thank you all so much for watching this quick short video. Comment down below any experiences that you have with your eyes, or just in general, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.